Welcome back to Box Office Maniacs, and here is the biggest show of the year. At least on here anyway. And I'm going to be doing it solo this year because Vince is going through some stuff right now, but he will be back on here sooner or later. I don't know when, but when he's ready to come back, he will be back on the show. So I guess this year it's just going to be me doing the Normies. And we have to do it because it's the big show of the year. So if you're a new maniac here to Box Office Maniacs, what the Normies is our top 10 list of the favorite films we saw in 2018. And being that the Oscars are on tonight, what a better time to do the Normies. Usually I do them earlier in the year, but I think from now on I might just start doing them on the day the Oscars are. Because basically this is our Oscars. Alright, so out of the whole year, we picked 10 movies, and this is where all of our money's gone to. All the time it's taken us to see all these movies all year. It comes down to this. My 10th favorite film of 2018 this year was Solo. That's right, the Star Wars movie Solo that everybody didn't go see because they were sick of Star Wars and they missed probably one of the best Star Wars movies ever. It is definitely up there with one of the best new Star Wars films that they have made. But it's number 10 on my list because there's so many other great films that have come out this year that are actually better than Solo. So let's get to number 9. Number 9 is a Marvel film, and it's called Black Panther. Now, I love Black Panther. I think it was fantastic. And one of the things I loved about it is, or just about the whole Marvel universe in general, is every film is connected. And all the stuff that was in here was literally building up within like the last 5 to 6 films into this movie. And it did not disappoint. And it's actually up for Best Film of the Year. The very first ever superhero film up for Best Film of the Year, and that's quite an achievement, finally, from Marvel, and I'm really glad that the Academy has finally recognized these are great films. Some of them are the best films of the year, even though this is the only one that so far has been nominated, but I am sure a lot more will be on the way now that they finally broke through that ice and said, listen, you know, these are great films and they should be nominated for Best Film of the Year. So congratulations to Black Panther, and it's number 9 on my list. So number 8 is a film that I didn't actually get to go see last year. And I was going to review it for you guys, and I just never got the time to do it. And it is The Greatest Showman. Now, I don't review musicals very often on here, or very ever, I guess. I don't remember the last time I've ever actually reviewed a musical, but I actually bought this for my wife for Christmas, and we were looking for something to watch one night, and I was like, hey, why don't we watch this? I mean, I bought it for you, and we were both like, okay. We put it in. From the first second of this film to the last frame of this film, I loved it. I loved every song. I loved the story. I loved the energy. I loved the sets. I loved the acting. I loved everything about this film, and it was incredible and one of my favorite films of 2018. Alright, so on to 7 here. Now, 7 was an experience. It was one of the greatest experiences I ever had going to the theater watching this film. And for those who did not go to the theater to see this movie and decided just to watch it in their bedroom or wherever, they're in their living room by themselves, I think they missed out on the opportunity to see something very, very special in the theater. And that is A Quiet Place. Extremely good movie. It was one of the weirdest experiences I ever had going to the theater, and I do have the review for it on here, so if you want to check it out, go check it out, because it was an incredible experience, and an incredible movie. Number 6 on my list is another film that is up for Best Film of the Year. Will it win? Probably not, but when I went to go see it, I knew it'd probably be up for Best Film of the Year, or at least I said it should have deserved to be Best Film of the Year, and the actor is also up for Best Actor, and I do believe that he will win. And that is Bohemian Rhapsody. An outstanding film, It will have your toes tapping. It'll have you singing. It will, have you cheering. It's crazy emotional. It's an amazing story. It's everything that I love in a film. It's that good. And if you've not seen it yet, I can highly recommend that you go see it. And we do have the review for it on the channel as well. So now we've actually gotten to number 5 already, and my 5th favorite film of the year would be Halloween. And once again, we do have the review for Halloween on the channel, and it brought back Halloween back to its roots. It brought it back to being Halloween again and not some crazy weird Rob Zombie thing or whatever else they were doing before that. There's no Busta Rhymes in this film, unfortunately, but it did bring it back to the roots, and I think it's one of the best Halloween films since the first 3. Loved it. Number 4 is one of my favorite action films of the year. I was physically drained after I watched this movie. I was worn out. We walked out of the theater and I felt like the character in the film, and that is Fallout, the latest Mission Impossible. Just an incredible film. The action in this is just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's one of my favorite films of the year, and that is why it is number 4. Now, we're getting into the seriousness here of the top 3 films, and number 3 for me was one of my favorite films, not just of the year, but one of my favorite horror films, I think, ever, and that is Hereditary. This was an incredible film. The acting in it, the story in it, just the whole meaning behind the whole thing, and it's one of those films that you go see and you're not exactly sure what you just saw, so you have to think about what you saw and try to put the puzzles and pieces together. And they don't make movies like that much anymore because all the studios just want to spoon feed you the action films and say this is exactly what it is and you know what you're watching. But Hereditary was not like that. It broke that mold, and I think it's one of the greatest horror films of all time. Alright, so the top 2 here. This was so difficult for me to pick the one out of the 2 because they're both basically my favorite films of the year. But I can only have one, so number 2 is The Avengers: Infinity War. I saw this early in the year, and it took almost to the end of the year for this to get knocked out of the first place for me. And I loved it the entire year, and no matter what I saw the rest of the year, it didn't even come close to the Infinity War until I did see the number 1 film that's on my list here for 2018 that did finally knock out Infinity War as the best film of the year. So that would be Spider-Verse. Believe it or not, I wasn't even that excited to go see Spider-Verse because it looked kind of it looked mediocre. But then as soon as we went to go see it and it started, it had me from the first second to the last second to every frame of the film. It was funny, it was action-packed, it was emotional, and the animation in it was incredible, and it was everything that I love in a film. And that's why it ended up being the number 1 place for me in 2018. Even though it was so close between this and Infinity War, this edged it out because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and this was Spider-Man for me. This was, out of all the million Spider-Man movies I've made, it just felt like a real Spider-Man film. It's hard for me to explain. And it was fun, and it was funny, and it was everything that I wanted out of a Spider-Man film. And it finally, I guess, my childhood dream finally came true for Spider-Verse, and it was that good. So there you go. There is my top 10 list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you hate all the films I mentioned? Do you love all the films I mentioned? Do you think I left anything out of this list? There's actually a couple films that I couldn't put in here. I really wanted to. One was Deadpool 2. I'm going to give a shout out for that. I think it was an incredible film too. And I just didn't have any space in the list to put it. And there was a lot of films I didn't get a chance to see, so a lot of those may have ended up on this list because towards the end of December I got sick and ended up in the hospital, and that's when all these movies came out and I didn't get to see any of them. There was like 4 or 5 films that I'm still waiting to go see from 2018. Now I'm just waiting for the Blu-rays to come out so I can actually finally watch these. So there you go. There was the 2018 Normies for Box Office Maniacs. And if you are not one of our Maniacs, please become one of the Maniacs. Maniacs. Become one of those and hit the subscribe button and also hit that little bell so you will be notified when we upload videos. Thank you for watching. It was an amazing 2018, and 2019 I think it's going to be even bigger. And I can't wait to bring you all these amazing films this year and talk about them and talk about all the Blu-rays and the 4Ks and all the Ks that are coming out this year. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for subscribing, and I'll see you next time here on Box Office Maniacs.